So we got two special things. Number one, we're going to be talking about a Unicron toy that a lot of people have been asking me to discuss because of the recent events that's been going on with Unicron on both the third party and official. And JawzD is temporarily back.
Hey, I'm back and I'm better than ever. Look at this new paint job. I've just gone beyond being a plain old JawzD. I'm a Jaws Deadeye.
He's a gold bug. Okay, so essentially what we're talking about is a piece of news dropped recently that Zeta Toys, and it's funny how this was timed because Zeta Toys dropped the day that the Unicron HasLab exclusive toy was supposed to, like the whatever you want to call it, the backer, when it was supposed to finish. They dropped it the same day. Now, obviously, we've heard recently Hasbro is going to be extending that date now, and it's going to be ending, I believe it's September 6th is going to be when it's going to be ending.
I thought it was October. I thought they went all the way to October.
Oh, excuse me, October. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's October. So they've extended it, and it's
That's
funny.
a big extension, too.
I don't. That's a whole other story.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I wasn't here for that. Excuse
me. That's a previous episode of my theories with that one. But the point is that it's funny because they literally planned this news as if it would have been like, hey, I think they were planning for the Unicron not to be successful, the HasLab one, and them going like, oh, since it wasn't successful, here's ours.
Yeah.
Come and get it. But since that didn't happen, or maybe they didn't get the memo, it's one or the other, but since it didn't happen, they went ahead with the announcement anyways. And
oh boy.
It got pretty heated. And I mean, I'm part of a few Facebook groups, and I'm part of, the forums and stuff, and it's just the amount of shit talk that's been going on has been ridiculous. And it's people going like, you only hate it because you're poor, and other people going like, you shouldn't be spending your money on stuff you don't need. And it's just like, it was getting crazy. So like, this came out, and then all of a sudden it's like it's a new wrinkle in this stupid argument that's been going on within the fandom. And I'm going to give you guys the facts on what this third-party Unicron is, and pretty much our opinion of it, really, in comparison. And I want to stress in advance, even though I am a backer of the Unicron, I'm not going to, and I'm someone that historically has never been big on third-party, I'm not going to let that sway my opinion. I'm going to just give my straight-up take on this from a business, money to product kind of standpoint, and let you decide from that point afterwards. You were going to say something? Sorry?
I was going to say like a little anecdote that I had. I remember at TFCon Toronto this year, I was walking around making a joke because there was a meme where it was like, that meme where it's like X and then also me, and then it's like contradictory to what you just said before.
Oh yeah.
So it was before the Hasbro Unicron dropped. All that thing dropped. Like we were leaving TFCon, and then we found out about this going down.
Literally the Monday.
Yeah. And I was making a joke of, you know what? I feel like $300 is a bit much for like an official product, So I'm like referring to the Masterpiece Megatron and the Masterpiece Dinobot, etc. And then I said also me. And then one TFCon I bought the third party Scorponok. Remember that? I bought it for one of our friends' brothers because he wasn't able to make it down. And I just have a picture of me holding it in my body, just comparatively to my chest, my torso. It's way bigger. So I just had that little joke like that. And then all of a sudden, like Hasbro drops like a big ticket item kind of thing.
Well, especially
and to me, it's kind of like a lot of us are very quick to say, oh, I wouldn't pay that much for this official product. But yet we're out here buying third-party combiners. I know I've bought quite a few third-party combiners that are like in the 300s, So I don't know.
And not to mention,
things,
in your case especially, like you bought a lot of those third-party combiners in a box set kind of scenario.
Exactly, all at once.
Where there's been a lot of times those same third-party combiners that you've bought, when they were sold individually, were more expensive, and let's not even think about the individual shipping for some of those individual limbs.
Exactly.
So they would have easily came to $400, $500. And then the sad thing on top of all of that, granted, everyone's mileage is different, but some people, the second those official versions came out, ditched them just as quick. Now, granted, some people love what they bought and they appreciate it more. And even my own personal opinion, I think a lot of the third-party Scramble City guys, if you will, combiner guys, I think the engineering on them is a million times better than the Combiner War stuff. But you're also comparing limited price point Hasbro budget against whatever it costs, they will pay it. You know what I mean? So the way that I see it essentially is, it's the kind of the same thing here, but in a different way. So we'll get into it. So Zeta Toys revealed their Zeta ZV02 Core Star. And according to what they say here, and this is like translated from Chinese, the original plan is to wait until September 1st for new pictures. Again, due to change, this is all like broken English. So pretty much they were saying we were going to wait until after the Unicron thing didn't succeed. This is the ZV02 Core Star, Nuclear Star, body image, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be 48 centimeters tall. It's going to have LED lights. And then they stress here, not going to have a backpack, because Unicron was kind of like accused of having like a backpack hanging off the back. It's not going to have outer shells on the side. And they say here it's going to be 150 RMB. 1,500 RMB, which is yuan, which translates to, assuming it's, as of this recording, about $210 American. So again, 48 centimeters is about 19 inches. To give a comparison to the Hasbro one is 27 inches. 19 inches, I'm trying to compare it to...
It's like a foot and something.
Well, I'm just trying to compare it to what exists in terms of Transformer toys right now of 19 inches. Because it's, geez, what is
I can't think of anything.
Well, no, I'm just looking around the room. My audio is gonna.
So Pro Man just looking at his room right now.
Yeah, like a little bit shorter than Devastator Combiner Wars, I guess. But even then, that's not exact. I'm trying to. I'm looking even at like there's like a Rescue Bots thing. There's a lot of larts, but no one would know what that is. But the point is that it's almost 10 centimeters shorter than it. So it's clearly not the same size. Same thing with what it looks like. The diameter of the planet mode is obviously considerably smaller. Granted, again, there's a different price. Like it's considerably smaller and it's cheaper. But the one thing that just gets me, and again, it's not me being biased, it's just really the overall aesthetic, is in a comparison between the two. Like, let's say if the HasLab Unicron one never existed, let's say this thing was never shown to us, never existed, then this thing is awesome, this Zeta Toys one. This would easily be the nicest looking Unicron toy we've had thus far, official or unofficial.
Right.
That old Armada mold, be it what it may, it was never a perfect sphere. It was kind of designed where the Primus one was a perfect sphere. The Armada Unicron one was kind of designed to like lie down on one flat surface. Yeah. And it was kind of this, it's a very weird mold, but also it's a mold from 2001, and it
was the first one. It was the first attempt, but it was the first attempt to make it to market kind of thing.
Yeah, it was the first true mass-produced Unicron toy after multiple attempts that just never came to be, whether it be the original G1, all those prototypes we've discussed throughout the years, and of course even the Beast Wars Neo one. There's been statues, there have been PVCs, but it was the first true transforming Unicron toy, and they just milked that mold for 18 years, and constantly that mold just kept coming out. I remember I discussed it on the Discord. I was just going like, it felt like every 3 years they would dig up that mold and just repaint it and put it out there again.
Well, what's the latest one of that? That's the green, the soul
the green one? Yeah, the souls of...
books?
The soul of the Microns was that was a very recent one. I want to say like 7 months ago. So they've constantly been going back to that mold. So if this thing was then shown to us, we would have thought it was just the greatest thing ever. And not to mention at $210, when you consider, if you bought, let's say, a Japanese version of that Micron mold, it probably would have came to $210 when you really think about it. So this thing is incredible in a bubble. You know what I mean? In a bubble, compared to what has existed prior. But when you compare it to what aesthetically has been done with Hasbro, and let's ignore the price for a second, the 500 and something, but it's gotten to a point that when you compare the two, it's Hasbro's aesthetic is, it's crazy how accurate it is to the animation model. Specifically, I'm talking the planet mode. The planet mode, I mean, they really hit it out of the park. They hit it out of the park completely. The planet mode for the HasLab Unicron one. The robot mode, I understand the apprehension that people have about, you know, the
I would
folding,
assume the legs.
the folding of the panels of the legs, the folding of the stuff on the back.
I mean, for me, the aesthetic of the legs, I kind of dig it because it reminds me of, remember Stardust Memories, Unit 2, the big giant one. It looks like a big giant,
the GPO2
samurai heavy armor kind of thing. So the chunky legs to me just looks like this draped Diamo, like in the court of Japan kind of thing. But I don't mind that. I like the chunkiness of the legs. But when I go to the animation model, I'm kind of like, ooh, those are some. I didn't know his legs were so thin.
Well, the thing is, especially is that overall the general aesthetic is still present in the animation model. It's still there. Like, I mean, again, to me, I feel the planet mode is flawless. I think that the distance of the rings from the actual planetoid body is perfect, where the third party one, I feel it's too limited.
It's harkening back to that Armada mold.
It really is. I'm getting a lot of that Armada mold flashbacks. I mean, the robot modes are comparable. There's just different proportions in different areas. I just really like the HasLab one more because it's more evocative of the original Fliro Deary, 86 model.
Yeah.
Granted, yes, when you look at it from behind, you see the backpack and all that kind of stuff. But
I don't know anyone that's really displaying anything from behind. Like, to be
well,
very honest.
And especially, like, I mean, I've watched, intensely the transformation videos for this thing, and how it's done, and it's this great. There's a great video with the designers on how they're transformed and everything, and it's, to me, it is what it is, but I think they did a fantastic job. Do I feel that the price is a little much? You know what? I do. I will not deny it, but it's one of those scenarios. Let me tell you something. If this was a retail product, let's say this was a retail product, and I knew that, every Toys R Us, now granted the States don't have Toys R Us, but every Toys R Us was going to have at least 2 or 3, I wouldn't have ran out and bought it. I would have totally sat back, like I always say on the podcast, just wait. And sooner or later, it's going to come to me cheaper. But in this unique scenario, where I just feel that they're just going to do it, and whoever gets it, gets it. And I only speak of it from the experience of people that have bought other stuff through HasLab, like the sail barge from Star Wars, where they made a certain amount of them. There was like 5 or 6 extra. Those ended up on the Hasbro shop, and then that was it. And then if you got it, you got it. If you didn't, too bad. Now you have to buy it through the secondary market at a markup. And I already know people personally who are like stores and stuff in the Transformer fandom that have bought 5 of these because they're seeing it already as an easy turnaround money investment. There's a term that we use.
You're talking about the Hasbro one or the Zeta one?
The Hasbro one. No,
okay.
the Zeta one.
No,
the Zeta one. I'm just saying the Hasbro one. The thing is there's a term that's used with a lot of people when you're a scalper, and the term is called FOMO. FOMO stands for fear of missing out, which is there's a lot of people that will pay absolutely anything to get a product out of fear of missing out. And we have a scalper between the two of us. We have a friend who scalps amiibos, and he makes ridiculous bank. And I shake my head every time I do a convention with him, and he's just Monopoly manning his money, And, where people come up to him and go, oh, I want $90 for the nest, sure, no problem. And it's just like, okay, geez, okay. But the point is that it's the same thing here, is where if this thing comes and it gets backed, and I think it will, and those numbers go out, and then that's that, there's only going to be a finite number of them out there, and there's going to be those FOMO people that are going to be like, you know what, I'll pay $1,000 for it.
Yeah.
And I guarantee, look, listeners, I understand you're cringing right now going, that would never be me. I understand that would not be you, but there's always that guy. There's always that guy that will pay $1,000 just to not miss out and to have the product, especially if there's a fear, again, the fear of missing out more than anything, that they'll never get a chance because there's only 8,000 of them.
Yeah.
So
I was going to ask real quick, when you did the original reveal of Hasbro Unicron, did you bring up what Aaron Archer had said in his panel at TFCon?
Well,
not this year, but a few years ago, when someone asked, where do you see the future of toys? And he said, kind of like how Kickstarter is. He said he kind of felt it was going in that direction. And then this is like maybe 5 years later, boom, we're in it right now.
Especially because just Kickstarter as a whole is almost like every Kickstarter program, whatever it is, every Kickstarter, what's the word I'm looking for? Campaign, thank you, is always in a lot of ways a niche market. You know what I mean? Earthworm Jim Kickstarter, there's one that exists. So it's for the niche market of Earthworm Jim fans. Toys and toy collecting is shrinking at such a hard rate that it's becoming that in itself, where it's like it's becoming a niche market. So it's only kind of logical in some situations to kind of go that route.
Where you're selling directly to the consumer, basically.
Not only just directly to the consumer, directly to your fans, with no fear of, we're gonna load up this Walmart in the middle of Timbuktu with, a whole, wave of this that's never going to sell, and it's a waste of product. Now, granted, they already made their sale and they sold it to Walmart, but there's a repercussion for that. If the product doesn't sell, the company doesn't want to order more. There's a domino effect with that. So he always felt that it's kind of the direction it was going anyways, because of just how toys are going in general, and how Kickstarter works, where it focuses on, I don't want to say dying fandoms, but fandoms that are considerably smaller than something that could be sustained in a retail environment. Look at the Avengers movies and the Marvel movies, how they make insane amount of money, but yet the toys still kind of struggle to find an audience in general. While, the Marvel Legends stuff still sells well and everything, but the basic retail stuff, the past couple of Marvel movies that existed, whether it be Endgame. Look, Endgame is the greatest selling movie of all time. All time.
Avatar,
all time. You couldn't give away that grimace-looking Thanos figure. They were so terrible looking, and it's, you could argue, well, the quality was bad too, but it's just that the market isn't there. The people who wanted to buy the really good-looking toys went out, again, the niche guys, got their hot toys, they got their expensive whatever Thanos figure or Sideshow collectibles, and then that middle ground wasn't interested, because if they like, Avengers, they probably were playing Fortnite and they had the Avengers Thanos pack or something.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like that age group, that demographic, they don't care. So the point is that it's evolved into that direction. Getting back to the Unicron here, though, it's just that was just kind of the general evolution that was just going on, and I still feel it's rather expensive for what it is. Looking at especially when you have the gray prototype being transformed in front of you, and you could practically count all the parts, and you go like, you know what, this isn't, $600 in parts. But in all honesty, I kind of see where this is going, where they want to show something super successful. They want to turn to their investors and turn to Brian Goldner, the CEO of Hasbro, and go, hey, we did this, it was successful. And I did the math, like, if they get 8,000 backers at what is it, $600 a person, that's almost $5 million, to sell 8,000 units. And I guarantee the profit margin on there, again, I haven't counted pieces and parts and everything like that, but I mean, there's no electronics or lights and sounds. It's just literally a raw figure with not a lot.
Which I kind of feel like that's a plus in a lot of ways. I feel like I think only in specific toys, like, you need the voice box, Some extra lights might be cool, but meh.
I feel lights and sounds really don't belong unless it's so tiny that it's not intrusive. Like the best example I could give is like Masterpiece Optimus Primal, where they managed to somehow get a small pill battery LED into his head. Yeah. And it was just nice. Well, but in general, it is intrusive and it gets in the way.
You're definitely sacrificing space that could be used for a cool transforming.
Well, that's the
thing,
argument
a gimmick or a show-off piece or something like that.
That's the argument that's going on right now with the new Masterpiece Optimus Prime that has a very big backpack. People are saying if they didn't have that voice box in the back, maybe it also wouldn't have had it. But again, that's still I don't have it in hand yet, so I can't confirm that. But it's just it's something that I still feel it could have been cheaper, but at the same time, I already have it ordered. I'm gonna get it if it gets made, which it will, in my opinion. And I have the spot waiting in my room, and I just feel that it's
how much other big Transformers you had to move to get that spot.
No, this was a section. This is a section of my collection that was kind of ready for all those big guys. Like I never ended up getting Predaking just because I haven't found one cheap yet.
Right.
And so he would have been in that spot too. So all I have to do is kind of just move some stuff around, and Unicron will just be the one towering over them. But I had that spot planned for a while because I was like, oh, Triptychon's going to be here, Scorponok when the time comes, like all those big dudes. But it's just I feel that this Zeta Toys one, it'll serve its purpose for people who, number one, don't have to worry about a countdown, don't have to worry about breaking the bank to spend $600 plus taxes and shipping. Although the shipping, I was surprised how cheap it was, even to Canada. It's only $25. I'm shocked. But I think Hasbro.
Well, I think maybe because it's just shipping within like Longoy or something like that. I'm assuming.
No, honestly, I think Hasbro made a deal probably with companies or FedEx. It's probably FedEx. I think is shipping it. They probably have a deal or something that's just like, look, we're gonna take one for the team for this or something. Because something this large, I mean, when they were unpacking the prototype, it kind of gives you also when they unpack the prototype, it shows kind of how it's going to be shipped too. And I just go like, wow, that's a TV sized box, like it's
like an old school tube TV box.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah, well, that's why, because it's going to obviously be shipped in planet mode, and the rings are going to be detached separately.
Of course, it has to be. Like I don't understand if it wasn't.
And that planet mode is already a beach ball, so it's a big mofo. But the point is that. The Zeta Toys thing, I'm glad it exists because it gives people an alternative. The only negative about it is it's going to give people an alternative to argue until the end of time. It's the same way how still to this day I have people that argue certain Masterpiece toys against their third-party equivalencies, whether it be Masterpiece Ironhide or a Masterpiece Inferno, or even like I think just the recent Masterpiece Optimus Prime, how people like their versions better.
Yeah.
So I think it's still going to fuel that kind of arguing. And create all that.
And you also have the people that are like, I'll wait for the Zeta Toys KO edition.
Well, see.
Oh my goodness, that's just mean.
That's a topic that I don't want to bring up until this Kickstarter this backing is over.
Hey, Protoman, what's this over here in the pantry? Don't touch that one. Don't touch that, Jaws. I think it's called a can of worms. What's that?
I don't, because that's something I want to get into when the backing is done.
So much good memes on that.
When it's the final day, I'm going to talk more on that other side of it because I don't want to give my opinion on it because it might hurt things. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, like
bite your tongue.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking me something along those lines, but I'll get into that come the end of New York Comic Con, which is going to be the last date of the backing. And again, that's how I feel. Is I think it's all planned where it's just they have it where it's like it's going to be successful, and then the last day of New York Comic Con they'll have a panel. And they'll go like, oh, and by the way, guys, we did it. And then they'll have a slide where it says like, officially.
You don't think they'll wheel it out?
Of course they'll wheel it out.
It'll
be on display there. They'll have like 3 different copies of it in each mode, and John Warden will be there taking interviews. I knew from day one that they were going to make this happen regardless because of how far they already were along. Like the fact, all the hype, all the excitement, when they announced that they were extending the date, it was just me going like, it's because they don't want to fail, because they have to make this succeed regardless. And especially that, in my mind, they could take a year. It doesn't make a difference. I know that the people who got the sales barge, I think they had to wait 6 months or something before they got it. So it's something, if they just, if they extend it 1 month, 2 months, it isn't going to make a difference. All that matters is it's going to get made one way or another. So the Zeta Toys one, it'll give people an alternative, but again, and I don't want to sound like I have a bias just because I backed it. I like aesthetically more the other one. But if the other one, if the HasLab one didn't exist, then this Zeta Toys thing would have just been the hotness that we've been waiting for forever. I think that Zeta Toys' only mistake is they should have just done it years ago. You know what I mean? I think that in that sea of big city bots and stuff that we were getting, and the Omega Supreme and all that stuff, if Zeta Toys would have, let's say 2017 said, hey guys, check this out, I think that they would have gotten everyone's money then. And that's been the name of the game with third party for years, is they've always beaten Hasbro to the dance.
Which is interesting for this one, that
yeah,
it didn't happen.
Well,
or maybe, I don't know if it was out of respect, or if it was just like, we'll wait for this one to not make it. And it didn't make it.
That's just it. I think that their plan was that they were like, oh, it's not, it's, everyone who was looking at the backer numbers was like, this thing's going to fail. They were like, oh my God, 1,800 backers and there's 4 days left, or 5 days left, So, and I think they were just banking on, okay, it's going to fail. And then after it fails, they're going to, show up and go, oh, by the way, guys, check this out. Yeah. We just saved everybody, but it just didn't work out that way. Anyways, let us know what you think about this. We've been talking about it a while already, but let us know what you think. This is some nuttiness, and it's a controversial topic, and I know that there's so much arguing, but let us know what you think of the Zeta Toys one from an aesthetic point of view. Like, let's ignore prices for a second. Just what do you think about it visually?
Justice for Cookie Monster.